Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for Monday, August 18th. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. I'm going over my core picks. It's going to be 5 players in total, 1 pitcher, 4 hitters, and that will be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent history. And then after that, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk through my top GPP teams to stack for Monday's slate overall. And then in the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report. They have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher listed down there. And then I'll also be listing as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down in that comment section so that you do have the most up-to-date and relevant information, especially as we do head into lock. But without further ado, we'll get right into it with the core picks. We're going to start off at that pitcher position. Not like the greatest day in terms of pitchers. I think there's some viable guys out there, but I ultimately ended up on Brady Singer. He's $9,200, averaging just over 27 fantasy points per game on the season. He's going against Los Angeles Angels. He has decent history versus them, but it is pretty limited history at that. He did not pitch against them this season, didn't pitch against them last year, so it's been a little while since he's faced a lot of these hitters, but he's been doing pretty well as of late, so we're willing to take this shot on the upside with him. You know, if you want to go to a different pitcher, definitely do understand that. If we look at what he's done so far in the season, he does have 10 wins. ERA is at 4.24. Once again, averaging just over 27 fantasy points per game at $9,200. Then we're going to get moved down to our hitters. So the first 2 guys that I have are going to be 2 Baltimore Oriole players, and both of them do not have history versus the expected starting pitcher, and that's going to be Dustin May of the Boston Red Sox. So without further ado, we'll start off with Jordan Westburg, who is eligible at second base and third base. He's $3,100, averaging just over 10.5 fantasy points per game on the season. And if we look at what he's done as of late, he's on a modest 5-game hitting streak. He's got 2 multi-hit games during that time span, 1 home run, and 3 double-digit performances. And so far in the season, he's got 277 batting average, 15 home runs, 34 RBIs, once again averaging about 10.5 fantasy points per game at $3,100. And then we move down to his teammate in Jackson Holliday. You can play him at second base or shortstop. He's $2,800, averaging just over 9 fantasy points per game on the season. And he's currently on a 3-game hitting streak as we do speak. He has 1 multi-hit game during that time span, 1 home run, and 2 double-digit performances. So both have been faring pretty well as of late. Jackson Holliday is up to a 249 batting average, 15 home runs, 48 RBIs, once again averaging over 9 fantasy points per game at $2,800. So I definitely do like both these players. For the Baltimore Orioles, going against Dustin May should be a very attractive matchup just in general, and both of them should be hitting towards the top of the lineup, if not at the very top once again. And then we're going to move down to the outfield with Steven Kwan at $2,900. Pretty decent price tag for him at this point in time, averaging about 9.5 fantasy points per game on the season. Going against the Arizona Diamondbacks, their expected starting pitcher is Zach Gallen, who has had a pretty lackluster season, to put it nicely. But Steven Kwan is 4 for 9 versus Zach Gallen in his career. He's on a modest 5-game hitting streak. 3 multi-hit games during that time span, 1 home run, 4 double-digit performances, and 5 games of 9 fantasy points or higher. So definitely do like the floor of Steven Kwan on today's slate overall. And he does have a little bit of upside at the same time as well. If we look at what he's done so far in the season, he's had a 281 batting average, 10 home runs, 40 RBIs, averaging about 9.5 fantasy points per game at $2,900. And then last but not least, we're going to go down to Christian Yelich at $3,600, averaging just over 12 fantasy points per game on the season. And he is going against the Chicago Cubs. This is going to be, I believe, the second game of a doubleheader, which was a little bit surprising that they did keep it on the main slate since typically those ones fall off. But since it's there, we will take advantage of it. The expected starting pitcher for the Chicago Cubs team is going to be Jameson Taillon, making his first start back from the injured list. And in his career, Christian Yelich is 12 for 35 with 2 home runs versus Jameson Taillon. So some really good history there. He has at least 1 hit in 4 out of his last 6 games, 4 multi-hit games during that time span, 4 home runs, and 4 double-digit performances. So you could say lucky 4s across the board, but he's been playing really well as of late. I know the last 2 games were hitless, but definitely do like his upside on this slate overall. He's had a 267 batting average, 25 home runs, 86 RBIs, once again averaging over 12 fantasy points per game at $3,600. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do currently have listed here, you have $13,400 remaining, just over $3,300 remaining per player. So definitely feel free to mix and match anybody else that you want to in this lineup. Obviously, the Dodgers are a team that we're probably going to want to stack playing at Coors Field, but they do have inflated price tags, so kind of feel free to mix and match on this slate. Like I mentioned earlier, the pitchers are not like the greatest overall in terms of matchups, but there are some guys with some decent upside, so I would recommend mixing and matching them quite a bit as well today. But with that being said, we'll give an order of my cheat sheet and talk through my top GPP teams to stack for Monday's slate overall. So we're going to start off with the Reds. They're going against Victor Medeiros of the Los Angeles Angels. They have no history versus him in the past. Medeiros hasn't really started too many major league games at this point in time. I know for sure it's his second start this season. I think he might have had one in the past too as well, but not very much history there. Probably not a lot of upside for him just in general. Reds have been hitting the ball pretty well as of late, so definitely feel free to get to that Reds lineup in a pretty good way just in general. Then we have the Los Angeles Dodgers team playing out of Coors Field. They're going against Kyle Freeland. Some decent history versus him in the past. Obviously, the price tags are inflated at this point in time, but definitely do like into that Dodgers lineup once again. And then we got the Kansas City Royals going against Jack Leiter. Some pretty limited history there in the past, although most of those hitters have hit him pretty well, whether that's Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, Bobby Witt, Miguel Garcia. A lot of different options out there just in general. And then Adam Frazier's been killing the ball as of late, and he's really cheap too as well. And then last but not least, we have the Baltimore Orioles going against Dustin May. Some pretty limited history in the past, but I definitely do like the upside of their lineup, especially the guys near that top of the order that we did mention in the core picks, as well as guys like Ryan Mountcastle and potentially Adley Rutschman at the same time as well. But with that being said, these are my core picks as well as top GPP teams to stack for Monday, August 18th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then once again in the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report. They have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. And then I'll also be listing as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down in that comment section so that you do have the most up-to-date and relevant information, especially as we do head into lock. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now we have MLB DFS in terms of the core picks, typically Monday through Friday. Thursday we will not have a video once again this week. It's a very weird slate just in general, especially for the evening slate, which I believe is 3 games just in general. I'll try to get the notes up on Patreon for free for those 3 games if that's something you're interested in as well. And then I also do have my CFL DFS video coming out once a week, and typically that does come out on Wednesdays. So definitely feel free to check that out if that's something you're interested in as well. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS and Prize Picks. If you're a brand new user to either one of those sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks, it's a 100% match up to $100, and then for BetUS, it's a 125% match up to $2,000. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS for Monday, August 18th.